UFC 274 is this weekend, guys, and we have to get down to business. Let's break down the main card for you guys here today, tell you who to bet on, where these fights are going to go, how they're going to play out, and give you guys all the inside details I have. For those that haven't been to my channel before, I have been watching the UFC since literally renting it at Blockbuster, so I have been around the block. I have seen every UFC card basically ever. We're up to 274 now, which makes me feel really old because I don't even remember basically going to Blockbusters and my dad buying or renting the UFC 1, literally UFC 1. So let's just start at the bottom of the bottom of the main card and then go up to the main event, obviously. So I will say I am pretty disappointed with the prelims. Usually I would break down the prelims for you, but like for some reason they have Brandon Roval really low on here, and that's probably the fight I'm most excited for on this card. So I don't know why they have him so low on it. In my opinion, he should be the last fight of the prelims because he's the highest ranked fighter, but maybe they're trying to get a new crowd in. Who knows? But kind of disappointed with the prelims. I'd probably say that they've been kind of dropping the ball in general on the prelims this entire year. I know with like COVID and everything, it's been kind of weird this year, but and still is with people traveling from across the world. So maybe that's why they're having like a hard time filling these cards. But I think as a UFC fan out there, you'd probably agree that cards have not been as stacked this year as they typically have been in the past. But this one's really good. I'm really excited. We have 5 very competitive fights here on the main card, which we haven't really seen a whole lot of this year. So Donald Cerrone and Joe Lauzon, 2 of the most experienced fighters in UFC history. They have been around the block and back, and it is really, the odds makers have it minus 180 for Donald Cerrone right now to plus 155, so not anything too crazy. I see this as a pretty competitive fight. I do think Donald Cerrone has the better tools to win the fight. Joe has always been there as, like, if you guys have been around, Joe is a maniac. Joe will do anything it takes to win, but usually on the cards, if it goes all the way, it usually doesn't go in his favor. But he is a fan favorite, 2 fan favorites here. Very exciting fight. Donald Cerrone, please grapple. Please. I know Joe's good at grappling, so maybe in this fight it might not actually play out to your favor, but I would love to see Donald mess around with some grappling. If you guys have not known, Donald Cerrone is basically a kickboxer for the last 7 years. But before that, he has more submission victories still in UFC or in his MMA career than he has knockouts. So Donald Cerrone, submit someone, please. Just grapple. I beg you. Like, you're an elite grappler. Donald Cerrone, please. Is he going to do it? Probably not, because I've been asking for it for like 5 years now, but maybe you will. Maybe this will be the time he actually does it. All right, next, we have Shogun versus St. Peru. Light heavyweight bout. 205ers here. Both of them. St. Peru obviously is going to be a little bit more athletic at this point. Shogun's going to have a little bit more experience, but it's minus 240 for St. Peru. I don't know that I would put it that big of a favorite because he tends to choke in big fights, but maybe at this point this isn't a big fight because Shogun hasn't fought in 2 years. He's kind of old, and honestly, he hasn't looked great. He's lost 2 out of his last 3, or there was a draw in there, but he hasn't done what Shogun used to do. So maybe Shogun's like that violent Shogun that we had our whole lives growing up. Maybe it's gone. So maybe that's what the odds makers are seeing here, that we're just going to have the younger, more athletic guy just end up taking it. Because in a 3-round fight, anyone can beat anyone. We all know that. We've seen it time and time again. Maybe St. Peru just goes out there and pushes the pace on him, keeps it a stand-up war. And yeah, I think it could be a very exciting fight. But let's be honest, St. Peru typically either knocks someone out or gets knocked out. So we'll see what ends up happening in that one. Maybe it'll be a little bit more exciting than I think. I'm expecting a decision on this one. I'm kind of expecting, I forgot to say that on the Donald Cerrone, I'm expecting a decision on this one too. I'm hoping for not, but that one's going to be really exciting. This one I could see becoming like a point fighting thing because Shogun's a little old. Why do you want to take the damage? And St. Peru just really needs to get a win. So next, we're getting to... This is probably the fan favorite fight of the night, even though everyone loves Rose, everyone loves Charles, everyone loves Justin. I mean, Who doesn't love Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson? This is the most excited fight I've been since probably Justin versus Michael was that last year? Or is that this year? When did I go to Hawaii? I was in Hawaii when that happened. Is that November? I think that was November. But super excited for this fight. Please, Tony Ferguson, come in with muscle. If anyone else has noticed this over the past couple of years where Tony's been struggling, he looks drawn out. He looks skinny. He doesn't look as strong as he did when he was going through people. Obviously, age takes a factor in that, and maybe that's how he has to make weight nowadays. But I really am hoping Tony comes in looking a little bit more muscular and can able to like really put a good fight together. Tony Ferguson has never been an easy out, even in these fights that say Justin beat him and Charles beat him. He's not an easy out by any means, but he hasn't looked dangerous in a while. Literally since he fought Donald probably, and that was that's probably 3 years ago now. So Michael Chandler has looked explosive. He's looked very good since coming over to the UFC. Obviously, he lost to Charles, and then he lost to Justin, but he's still looking good. Those are literally the number one and number two. Well, number one and number two technically, but the champion and number one in the division. So you can't really blame him for losing to those guys. It's going to happen to the best of them. Like anyone can win any night. That's why you're seeing Michael Chandler at a -380. I'm expecting Michael Chandler to win this fight, just the way Tony Ferguson has looked. But if anyone could make a comeback at the back end of their career and make something crazy happen, it's Tony Ferguson. So I'm really hoping to see Tony just have a great, I think everyone wants to see it. Everyone wants to see some Tony action. Hopefully he can make that comeback tonight, or not tonight, this weekend, and get it done, because I have been missing out on Tony. That is something that I might actually put a small bet on at +290, just because if he loses this fight, like honestly, his career is pretty much over. Like he would have to go on like a 3-fight win streak to even be in the consideration of like a top fighter again after losing tonight, or this weekend. So I don't know how it's going to play out. I'm expecting Michael Chandler domination, but if anyone can do it, Tony Ferguson, make the comeback, dude. I know you can do it. I know you're committed. We all know you're a little crazy in the head, but if I'm gonna throw a little bet on this, I might throw it on Tony. I do like the +290 for Tony. He has won a lot of fights in his career, so we'll see. Next, we have the strawweight title between Rose and Carla. We have a little revenge here for Rose. If anyone remembers, Rose lost the Ultimate Fighter in the initial strawweight belt to Carla, and I really hope I don't see a world that Rose loses this fight, because Carla she's number 2 in the world right now. Her striking has gotten better, but she is nowhere near Rose in the striking category. It shouldn't even be close on the feet. So the only way possible Carla is going to win this fight is she's going to have to be dirty boxing. She's going to have to be having Rose up against the cage, really use her strength, takedowns, hold her down for a long time, and we've seen it. Rose is elite on the ground. She was submitted once by Carla, but she has definitely gone back to the drawing board over, what is that? It was like 2014 when that happened, 8 years. So Rose is going to come out and probably show her dominance in this fight, is my expectation. I think she's going to show dominance on the feet, and then we all know, we saw the last fight. She is stronger than she looks. She can hold someone down on the ground just as good as the other person. I would not recommend her going to the ground with Carla, just because Carla, I do think at the end of the day, does have an advantage on the ground, but I don't think it's big enough to like really hold her down there for significant time. You never really see, other than Rose in her last fight, you don't really see strawweights hold people on the ground for entire rounds. So we would really need to see, in my opinion, like Carla would, if I was her, I would have went and watched Aljamain beat Peter Yan and be like, hey, I'm going to do this to her somehow. And if she can implement that, then there's a chance. But I'm thinking Rose wins this pretty handily. And potentially a finish, because, Rose was finished by her. So there's a little bad blood in her head being like, I want to finish her, get her out of there. A little thug action. Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje. Oh, the Arizona boy Justin. I really want him to win. Here in Phoenix, it'd be great to see him win. Is he gonna beat Charles, the hottest fighter in the division? And honestly, people don't talk enough credit of it, but I honestly think he would give Khabib a run for his money if they were both in the UFC and their peaks right now. Just the matchup. Like, it's a really tough matchup for Khabib, in my opinion. But it's interesting, guys. Very interesting. I think Charles is going to choke him out. But maybe there is a significant change to Justin's game. Right now, Justin's saying Charles isn't nearly as good as Khabib. But how can you say that? He choked out Dustin just how Khabib choked out Dustin. So it's like, you have a very experienced, he has the most submissions in UFC history. And we showed that Justin Gaethje has a giant hole in his game, and it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because he's never really been taken down. Will Charles be able to get a takedown on him? His wrestling definitely is not Khabib level, but Charles has always found his way to the back of someone or a choke at some point or another just from his elite Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm expecting Justin to come out and have monster leg kicks like he always does. And Charles has skinny legs. So I could see some serious damage in the first round. If this gets past the first, maybe second, if he gets past the midpoint of second round, Justin's winning this fight. I can promise you that. He will not lose that fight past that point. But there's always the submission. Justin looked so bad on the ground against Khabib. So I really do think if you're going to bet something, maybe a submission for Charles, but I bet you the line isn't very good on it. Straight up plus 150 for Justin. It's probably worth a unit bet at the end of the day if you're there to make it a little bit more interesting. But I'm expecting... All right, we got to make our decision. I really like both these fighters. What is most likely to happen? I think Justin just leg kicks him, the crap out of him, and Charles doesn't have a great takedown, so I don't think he goes for a takedown. It's going to, because you saw against Michael Chandler, Michael Chandler's a really good wrestler too, and obviously has a good ground game, so maybe that wasn't what his game plan was. So maybe Justin keeps it on the feet. Maybe Justin keeps it on the feet, and if it stays on the feet, Justin's winning that fight. And he'll probably get him out of there, to be honest. We know Justin, he is a bad dude when you're on the feet with him. So I think in big leg kicks and potentially a knockout for Justin. I think that's my prediction. Official prediction here. Justin Gaethje in Phoenix, his hometown. Well, not hometown, home state. Knockout. And that's my predictions for UFC 274, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. If you guys did, make sure you guys do drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.